Jaden Salama, followed by Catherine Rohan.
Hey y'all, my name is Jaden Salama. I live in the Kalpui-Ilihi Residence Hall at the University of Oregon, Ward 3. I'm here tonight to advocate for the future residents of Eugene, Oregon. I grew up biking in Portland, and in high school I found myself under the tutelage of an ex-bike messenger who was the captain of the bike team that I was on. He advocated for bike safety while riding, but also taught many strategies on how to stay safe and alive on the roads that we were riding, particularly out in the country where there weren't any bike lanes. So the bike lane was kind of considered an appreciated luxury, but not necessary for riding. I grew used to riding this way, and that was convenient because when you can ride when there aren't bike lanes, then you can ride kind of wherever you want, which is really nice. So coming to Eugene and biking around Eugene wasn't really much of a switch for me because I was comfortable riding on the roads. However, I quickly learned when my mom came to visit, or when I was trying to ride around with my girlfriend, that the really great bike infrastructure that's found kind of around campus quickly just evaporates once you get a few blocks off campus. And the bike lanes that I did encounter, I was struggling because I wanted to ride side by side with my partner and talk to them. Humans are very social people, and so I was struggling. I had to ride either in front or behind, which you don't really like. You don't feel good. When you have a conversation with somebody, you don't stand behind them and you don't stand in front of them. You stand either side by side and you look at them. And if I would be biking on Hilliard, taking either of them to downtown, I would run into a sign that said bike lane ends. Imagine if you ran into a sign that said road ends. In order to stay safe, and I mean, if I was by myself, what I would just do is I would go and just kind of really ride really fast to try and make it a block where I can get onto the protected sidewalk. But I can't count on them to ride as fast as I do, and so I have to do a complicated maneuver where I pull up on the sidewalk, cross the crosswalk, and then I ride on the sidewalk. That's really inconvenient and hard to do, especially when you're just trying to show somebody around who's not really all that experienced on a bike. We should not we should be able to ride just forward on a bike. We shouldn't have to turn. On a car, you have uninterrupted road. Sometimes there are one-ways and things like that, but you aren't forced to go around places. We may have some really great bike infrastructure in Eugene, but I dream of a day when we do not have a single bike lane end sign here. I want us to do the hard work of putting safety, convenience, and climate-conscious infrastructure ahead of space taken up by parked boxes.
Thank you. Catherine Rohan, followed by Finley Heeb.
Hi, my name is Catherine Rohan. I live in the Fairmont neighborhood, Ward 3, and I'm a student here at UO. I've never spoken at one of these meetings, so it's a little exciting and a little scary, but thank you all for listening. And I'm here to ask for safer streets and bicycle infrastructure. But I'm also here to remind you that this is a community. And a community is more than just sharing resources and voting. It's showing up and investing in the ongoing creation of one another's lives. And time and again, we've demonstrated that investment by creating plans that do just that. Plans that invest in the future and each other. And I'm talking about Vision Zero, our climate goals, the Transportation Systems Plan, and Envision Eugene. We came together as a community to make those. Wasn't just me, wasn't just you, wasn't one subset of Eugene. And all of those plans, they call for safer streets, equitable transportation options, and a shift away from single occupancy vehicles. And do you know what can get us there? It's bike infrastructure. Literally half of a vehicle lane to help us reach all of these community goals. And that's kind of ridiculous. In a lot of places, that's all it takes. Half a lane. And that's really exciting because it seems so doable. But for some reason, we seem to have trouble with that, because as in all things, some people push back. And my response to that is, please look beyond your bubble Please come join this community and share our plans. Because if you care for the people in your community and their future, they will care for you. And we've got big plans, exciting plans, as you all know. And I, for one, can't wait to see those put into action, one protected bike lane at a time. That's what it takes. And as council, I hope you too can do this, can look beyond a single bubble and can support and empower city staff and the city manager, be it John or Sarah, to carry our plans and prioritize investments in bicycle infrastructure and safer streets. Thank you.
Thank you. Finley Heeb, followed by Sean Vermilia.
Hi, my name is Finley Heeb, and I live in the Friendly Area neighborhood in Ward 1. I'm here today to ask you to please prioritize human lives over driver convenience. I'm a student at the University of Oregon, and I travel primarily by bike. Every day I commute to campus and back at least once, but often twice. In the last year, I have been hit twice, both times at 18th and Hilliard by a driver turning without checking the bike lane. The first time, they fractured my knee and they totaled my bike. The second time, I was biking with my roommate and they tried to turn between the two of us and hit us both. Naturally, I want to find an alternative, so I've tried biking on 19th. Due to a complete lack of bike infrastructure on 19th, I've found that drivers often get very aggressive. So I've been honked at, I've been yelled at, I've had somebody intentionally try to hit me, all directly in front of South Eugene High School. And that's what transportation culture in Eugene is currently like. I'm here to ask for a safer bike network so that Eugene is accessible to non-car travel. This will mean making it harder to drive, but some people will push back against that. Cities are not a place for cars, they are a place for people. So we must move past this because our transportation infrastructure needs to reflect our values for people. I'm asking you to listen to the people who bike, walk, and bus as much as you listen to the people who drive and are angry about losing a parking spot for somebody's life to be safer. There are no excuses for not having bike infrastructure on every street in Eugene. There are no excuses for making people put their lives at risk just to get where they need to go. There are no excuses for prioritizing metal boxes over people. And there are no excuses for not changing transportation culture in Eugene. So on behalf of my friends, my neighbors, and my community, I am asking you to prioritize our lives and safety over driver convenience, parking, and faster car lanes. Thank you for your consideration and your action.
Thank you. Sean Vermilia, followed by Ahiza Whalen.
Good evening. My name is Sean Vermilia, and I live in Ward 3 near the University of Oregon. As some have already discussed, I'm here tonight to urge the city to invest in better cycling infrastructure. My friend Finley just discussed the dangers of cycling in Eugene. I'm going to tell you a very similar story from the perspective of a driver. This past week, I was driving with my partner to grab some dinner. As I turned left from 18th Avenue onto Hilliard Street, my partner screamed. I slammed on the brakes as I realized I was inches away from hitting a cyclist. Luckily, we did not collide, yet the experience shocked me. As a regular cyclist myself, I always remain diligent as a driver for fellow cyclists on Eugene streets. I check bike lanes as I go past or across. I yield to cyclists whenever I can. And despite these precautions, I still nearly hit someone. These situations are frightening as a driver. They're terrifying and behavior changing as a cyclist. Having nearly been hit on a bike myself, I felt immense guilt driving away from that near collision, knowing that I may have made that cyclist feel permanently unsafe on Eugene streets. But these situations can be avoided if not eliminated entirely. At the intersection I nearly hit that cyclist, there is no paint in the intersection alerting drivers that they're crossing a bike lane. A sign alerts drivers to yield to oncoming traffic, but trees on the north side of 18th obscure drivers' ability to see the bike lane making it impossible to see cyclists until they are practically entering the intersection. This is just one example of a poorly designed cycling intersection in Eugene. Eugene's Vision Zero plan identified 22 high crash intersections like the one I almost crashed in, the same one Findlay was hit at twice. Yet Eugene prides itself on its robust cycling infrastructure. The city encourages cycling and wants more people to use bicycles. Its successful bike share program is evidence of that. It is frequently ranked among the best cycling cities in America. At the same time, bicycle infrastructure is not robust enough to ensure the safety of riders. As long as the city continues to encourage cycling without providing necessary infrastructure improvements, accidents and near misses will continue to occur. Drivers will remain frightened, and would-be cyclists will remain wary of venturing out onto city streets. The city must do more to ensure its streets are safe for everyone, not just convenient for those in a car. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ahisa Whalen, followed by Rachel Cohen.
My name is Eliza Whalen.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. I live in Ward 3 and I am a master's student at the U of M. The city has set a number of goals related to climate change, safety, and accessibility. I'm proud to live in a city with such values. But goals and values, they don't protect people on bikes. Infrastructure does. Drivers feel entitled to the road, and they feel that so deeply that they frequently endanger, intimidate, and injure people on bikes. And why shouldn't they? Roads are designed for cars. To change that, we need comprehensive and connected bike infrastructure. Every day that you make choices not in support of these changes are days that people on bikes take serious risks with their safety. And it makes me so mad that human lives are a lower priority than parking spaces or another traffic lane. I want to live in a community where people of all ages and abilities can ride through town, connecting with each other and the city around them. We may not achieve that joy, freedom, and engagement, though, without infrastructure that supports people on bikes. Please, choose this future and empower staff to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Rachel Cohen, followed by Rebecca Lewis.
Good evening. My name is Rachel Cohen. I'm a resident of Ward 3, and I'm a master's student at the University of Oregon Center for Sustainable Business Practices. The specific ask here tonight is for more, better, and safer bicycle infrastructure in the city of Eugene. But I want to zoom out here a bit and talk about the return on investment that transportation can generate for the city's economy in addition to the environment. When we design cities through the lens of the pedestrian, the cyclist, and the transit rider, we find unexpected ways to make cities more vibrant, more equitable, and more sustainable. Research shows that when we add people-first design elements to streets like bike lanes and green spaces, we see increased revenues at small and local businesses. Reduced traffic on roads means more goods and services that can flow efficiently in and out of the city. Improving livability and quality of life in this city is an excellent way to attract and retain a vibrant workforce. Giving residents more opportunities to walk, bike, and take transit to and from work can reduce lost revenue from employee turnover and increase business productivity. Finally, providing a greater variety of clean and active transportation options has long-term benefits for public health and public safety. All of us, as individuals, business leaders, and policymakers, have a role to play in addressing the climate crisis. Passenger transportation is a large contributor to greenhouse gas emissions in this country, as is concrete and other carbon-intensive materials that are used to build infrastructure for the car. If the City of Eugene is serious about achieving the goals outlined in its climate recovery ordinance, transportation policy and infrastructure present some of the greatest opportunities to reduce its carbon footprint that are directly within its reach. As you make decisions about public space, urban form, and transportation, I urge you to remember that what's good for the environment can also be good for the economy and for people. Thank you.
Thank you. Rebecca Lewis, followed by Mark Schlossberg.
Good evening. I'm Rebecca Lewis, and I've lived in Ward 1 in Jefferson Westside for 6 years, and I'm faculty at the University of Oregon. I'm a bicycle commuter and rely on the bicycle for most errands and trips within 5 miles. I'm here to advocate for safer streets for people of all ages and abilities using all modes of transportation. I'm a confident cyclist, and in my experience relying on a bicycle as a primary mode of transportation, I see many issues for less confident cyclists, particularly children and seniors. Only 6.5% of Eugene residents use a bicycle to get to work currently. If we're to meet the ambitious goals of the TSP, the CRO, Vision Zero, and Envision Eugene, it's important to provide a connected, convenient, safe network for cyclists and pedestrians. I live right off of Polk and was devastated to hear about an aggressive incident this summer between a driver and a group of cyclists. I ride this route frequently to move north-south between the Whitaker and Friendly neighborhood. My sister, who lives in Friendly, also rides this route, sometimes with my young nephews who are age 3 and 6. I'm consistently honked at on this street and other streets while following the rules of the road. Just yesterday, a driver sped around me and flipped me off as I was biking on Monroe, just over the Sharrows. How can I expect my nephews to ride a mile between my house and their house if I don't feel safe on these streets? I believe that we will fail to achieve the goals of our plans if we do not provide safer infrastructure for cyclists and pedestrians now. Transportation is the largest single source of carbon emissions in this country and the city. And while it's great to stand by climate goals, and I encourage you to stand with our youth in rallying for climate, we have to take action to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from transportation. That means driving less and using less carbon-intensive modes of transportation more. We can't do that without investing in infrastructure. Specifically, I would like to see a commitment to repurposing on-street parking and travel lanes on low-volume neighborhood streets. I strongly feel that we need protected infrastructure to create safe places for biking and walking. We also need to make it more difficult for drivers to pass through neighborhood streets. Diversions at 12th Street between Monroe and Polk and Alder Street at 19th are great examples. I encourage you to support plans that will achieve and better serve our communities in the long run to provide a safer environment for people of all ages and levels of cycling confidence. As you think in coming weeks about long-term investments in transit and cycling infrastructure in downtown, please think about the future and remember that we have to invest in infrastructure today to shift our behaviors and achieve community goals already established in our plans. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mark Schlossberg, followed by Chelsea Jennings.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. I'm Mark Schlossberg. I'm in Councilor Zelenka's ward. I've lived in Eugene for almost 20 years. I've raised 3 children here, and I'm also a professor of city planning at the U of O, where my work on redesigning cities so that more people can walk, bike, and take transit more of the time is being used by communities all over the world. I think these are things that you want as well, since you've approved a climate action plan, Envision Eugene, a transportation system plan, and Vision Zero as a guiding framework for safe street design. So I'm here today to urge you to recommit to these important goals by doing 3 things. 1, publicly reiterate your goals to triple the mode share of non-automobile trips and eliminate traffic deaths on our streets. 2, demand accountability of your new city manager on these council-passed goals to make safe streets and climate action a priority. And 3, support city staff when they do the work in support of your goals and still receive pushback from the community. Staff must know that you have their back because making changes to our streets to meet our climate, equity, and safety goals almost always encounters pushback because change is hard. Did you know that it's not even possible for kids to bike safely to our downtown library? Is that the type of community that we can be proud of? If you are not serious about the Climate Action Plan, Envision Eugene, the Transportation System Plan, and Vision Zero, then undo them. Otherwise, the time is now to make our streets safer, faster, more affordable, and more climate friendly for those who move by foot, by bike, or by bus. Thank you for listening, considering my points and our points, and for continuing to step up in public service. I especially know these days, that it isn't always easy to be a public servant, and I appreciate that you have chosen to serve our community in this way.
Thank you.
There is so much to talk about tonight. It was a really inspiring meeting, I thought. I'm sorry the college students left because they wanted to tell them they were great speakers as well as speaking for a good cause. I was amazed at how well they spoke. Not that everyone else didn't speak well either, but for students, I thought they were extremely, extremely talented. As for the bicycles, I think that's really important, that we do need even more places for bicyclists to ride. I remember having the experience of suddenly seeing bicycle lane ends, and I thought, what do I do? It was on 11th Street, and there was a lot of traffic. That was after, when I first got here, the first day I was in Eugene, though, I checked into a motel and I said, is there a place to ride my bike? And they said, right there. And pretty soon I was on the river bike path, and I thought, this is wonderful. And then I discovered the path through Amazon Park, and I thought, these are wonderful people. Look at all the places they've made for people to ride bicycles. And I still think it's wonderful, but we do need more safety and more places and more safe paths. And it's really bad when you suddenly are riding and it says the end of the bicycle route. And also that people seem to very casually close the bicycle portion of the road, which is, we wouldn't do that to the car portion, I don't think. And maybe it should be one side of the car portion closed and not the bicycle part.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone who came to tell us all these important things. We listen, and sometimes eventually we make some changes. We try hard. I really appreciate the huge group of people who came to speak about bike safety. That's a new topic for us, and it was very impressive, the number that came in, as Betty said, spoke so eloquently. Bike safety, bike use, CRO, CRO, CRO. I believe that our transportation plan is being shifted somewhat to get bike lanes before some of the roads in response to concerns and the climate recovery goals. We really do need more bike infrastructure. It doesn't always feel safe. I feel safe on the bike paths, but I don't ride in the traffic. And I'd like to see that get better. Something that needs to get better somehow right away is 18th and Hilliard. People are mad in their cars. You play chicken at the stop signs. But from the number of people who came and talked about that intersection, I will tell you that a month ago, I was coming out of Safeway on 18th, and a very pleasant but shook up young man asked me if I would give him a ride home, about a mile back towards campus. He's a worker at Safeway, and on his way to work, he was hit by a car that did not stop. His bike was ruined. He was in shock, and he'd lost a day's wages at least, which was about $100. And he was holding his arm. It's okay, but I did break it before. So I'm really worried about him, but he's just one instance of what we have heard over and over again. So let's get on 18th and Hilliard right away. We have a lot of work, as always, and I appreciate everyone coming to tell us how we should do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so I also the other thing I wanted to say was to thank the students who came to speak about the bicycle infrastructure. I think we can do better, but I think in some cases we are trying to shoehorn new bicycle infrastructure into a current car-centric system, and that does create friction within our community and means we have to be especially thoughtful about how we go about doing that so that we can reach our Vision Zero goals and our climate recovery goals and do better in providing more transportation options for everyone.